So a few months ago, I was scrolling through Reddit and I came upon a post about how much bank you can make selling 3D printed items on Amazon, and they provided a link. Now, someone stumbled upon this listing, I think, and basically what it was a drill bit attachment that you could add to a drill. And what it showed on Amazon was they're selling over 500 per month, which really caught my attention. Now, for the last few years, I've been selling 3D printed items just on Etsy. That's what I feel like everyone was recommending when I was starting off. It's a homemade or type storefront, so it kind of made a lot of sense. And I really hadn't given much thought to selling on Amazon. But once I saw this listing and saw how well people were doing selling 3D printed items, and apparently people didn't mind, I mean, they're selling a ton of them, that I thought I might as well give it a try. So after seeing that listing, I kind of thought to myself about my own buying habits. In my lifetime, I probably bought 5 or 6 items off of Etsy myself, and probably 1,000 plus items off Amazon over the years. So it kind of makes sense, like, yeah, I should be selling on Amazon. Well, it didn't go quite as I expected. So in this video, I'm going to take you through the journey I've had trying to sell my 3D printed items on Amazon that I currently just sell on Etsy. And I'm going to go through all the mistakes I made, which is a lot, and hopefully you can learn from them and have more success on your own. So years ago, I used to sell on Amazon things like used textbooks, electronics, so I already kind of had an account that hadn't been touched for maybe 15 years even, so kind of got that up and running. And so the first thing I'm going to do, hey, let's make some listings. So selling on Amazon, they kind of assume the product you're going to sell is a real product that probably has a model number or serial number or already kind of exists in their system. And if that's not the case, you have to kind of start with a blank sheet. Now, this didn't seem like a huge deal, so I started making my listing like I was used to on Etsy. And once I created my listing, I thought everything was fine. Well, it wasn't. So what I found out about Amazon is they care a whole lot about trademarks. Now, Etsy, you can create your listing, you can put whatever you want, basically. You can use company names, whatever. I've never had an issue, never been flagged. They just let you put it up. Amazon's a whole different story. So most of the 3D printed stuff I do sell are for specific items. So these are laser engraving jigs. Now, this one, for example, is for an X-Tool F1, like a specific machine it fits into. So I posted it as a X-Tool F1 jig. So let me create the listings or whatever. Once I had all my listings done, I think it was like the next day I checked, and they were all flagged, I believe, with trademark issues. And I think they threatened to ban my account like immediately. So it kind of got my attention where I didn't want that to happen before I even got started. But I definitely had to do some research on that. So this definitely took me some research to kind of figure out what I was doing wrong, because I see other people would have kind of similar stuff posted or be using name brands. And I kind of thought, if I can't call this an X-Tool, whatever, how is anyone ever going to find it? Like, no one's going to even know what it is. Well, what I found out is it's all in the wording. Now, Amazon will let you use brand names, but it has to be worded a certain way. So I can't call this just the X-Tool jig, because then it's like I'm X-Tool or using that trademark. But I can call it a jig that's capable or compatible with X-Tool or made for X-Tool. So there's a whole way of phrasing things for listings. And now that you know that, when you check out your own listings or you're searching for something on Amazon, it's really going to stand out to you. I see all these kind of third-party things, and the way they're listed is a very specific way that Amazon requires. So this turned into about a week process of me figuring out how can I exactly list all these items, list them appropriately where they're not going to get flagged. And what happens is you update your listings and you just kind of wait. It's got to be approved. It can take days. Amazon, what I've learned, is not a fast process. So I'm just kind of waiting it out, and eventually I got all my listings approved. So during that time I was waiting for my listings to get approved, I was printing up items that I can send to Amazon. Now, this is where my next fail came in. I didn't really know exactly what items or how many I should send to them. So through my Etsy shop, I did have a good idea what items sold more than others. And I wasn't sure, should I take those better selling items and sell them on Amazon, because I didn't really want to compete with each other. But I kind of figured people that are buying from Etsy are probably a little bit separate than are buying them off Amazon. It's maybe 2 different audiences. So I did decide to kind of take some of my better selling items and start there with Amazon. Now, I didn't want to send a whole bunch of items and then I didn't know if any of them were going to sell. I had no idea. You're just starting off and you don't have a ton of money. It's just filament basically in time for the printer. but you also are paying storage fees for keeping it as an Amazon warehouse with Fulfilled by Amazon. So there's all these factors that I'm trying to weigh in. Now, I think the original box I sent in, I think I did have 4 different items and around 30 items total. So a few of the items, I think I did 10, 10, and maybe 5 and 5. And that's what I got started with. So that first box is on its way to Amazon, going to go to their warehouse, and I'm kind of excited for it to begin the system. And that's when I waited, and I waited, and I waited. So I think it was close to 3 weeks before my items were actually logged into the Amazon system. Now, once they're logged in, they were available for sale, but the issue was when I looked at the shipping time, it was like 3 weeks away. And in my mind, I'm thinking, who's going to buy this if they're going to have to wait 3 weeks to get it to their house? Now, this is where I kind of screwed up, I think, about how many items I send in. Now, I don't know what the magic number is, but I think if you send in enough items, they will kind of distribute it throughout their warehouses, so it's available maybe on the East Coast, the West Coast. Now, some of my, maybe all of them right away, they went into what I think it was called FC transfer, so fulfillment center transfer. So they had me send it down to Florida. I'm in Minnesota, had it sent down to Florida, and once it got there, they put in their system, but then they, I think, send it to other warehouses. I don't even know how it all works. But that was probably another 1 or 2 weeks where it's in FC transfer, where it's people I think could still buy it at that time, but it wasn't fast shipping. It wasn't available for Prime or anything, so it's not going to encourage people to buy it when it's going to take so long to get it to their house. Now, while this is all going on, I'm kind of working on my listings, keywords, trying to learn as much as I can to make a good listing. But this is kind of where my next fail comes in, because it's really hard to make a professional looking Amazon listing. Now, I try to take decent photos and everything just in my shop, but I'm definitely not a pro. They don't turn out great. And I feel like with my Etsy shop, or with Etsy in general, now there are some great photos on Etsy, don't get me wrong, but I think people are a little bit more lenient, or a little bit more forgiving when it comes to not just amazing photos, because they know people are just making it at their home or in their shop or whatever. These are handmade items, they're not professional photographers. Well, on Amazon listings, people expect it to be professional. So on Amazon, even some dumb cheap electronic is going to have some high quality photos, is going to have some bullet points why you should buy it, a nice description, and that's what people it draws them in. So when you're trying to compete with that and you're trying to throw some homemade photos up on there, it's really hard to make it look professional. Now, this kind of runs into a whole separate issue about running your own small business or 3D printing business. Is you kind of have to become a jack of all trades. And I know I get meticulous when I'm actually making my items. I'm designing them in Fusion and print them out and want them to be perfect. But then when it comes to, say, the photos or everything, it's just kind of like, good enough. Where I probably need to be focused on different things like that. But I know everyone kind of runs into their own flaws that way. But with Amazon, I feel like it's really important to have those quality photos, have those bullet points at least. And I think that can really lead to more sales. So finally, after over a month, I finally get my items that I sent in. They're nestled in the warehouses they're supposed to be. They're available for Prime, I think, at least in some locations, so at least fast shipping if they're not 2-day. And everything's great, I think. Well, then one of my items actually sells, I think the one that I sent 4 or 5, it's within a week it sells out, which is great, right? But now I'm stuck with another month lead time to get more product in. And this all leads back to what I initially sent in and kind of wondering what items I should send in. Now, obviously, that item I should have sent way more in. But it's tough when you send so few in if they do sell, because it's such a long wait to get product back in stock. So even if I send it that same day, I'm still looking at it could possibly be at least 2 to 3 weeks before it's even available on Amazon. So now, as the last order I sent in, I had a few more items, and I kind of went heavier on the items where I'm like, okay, I will pay storage fees, but I don't want to run into that issue where people want these items, but they're just sold out right away. Now, we touched on the trademark issue before. Most people are going to want to have a brand. Well, if you don't have a brand listed, you have to post as generic. So, and that's what I did, and that's what I'm still on. But posting as generic, I would prefer building my brand, if it's Chad DIY or whatever I have it listed on Amazon, but I feel like going forward that would help with sales. Now, when I looked into this originally, I thought you had to go through a whole process, paperwork, maybe even with your state, or had to get it pretty official. And I just kind of wanted to get going with this, so I just listed it as generic. But I think the major issue is, my understanding is once you have all these things listed as generic, and say I got a brand registered, I don't think I can just switch these items to that brand. I feel like I'd have to create all new listings and post those items under those new listings. So obviously I'm not expert at all at selling on Amazon or through Fulfilled by Amazon, sending your items in there and having them ship them for you. But if you have any comments on this video, I really appreciate it. I'm sure I probably said some things that are incorrect about Amazon. I just wanted to share my experience because I know people that 3D print or sell 3D prints, and Amazon's kind of the big boy, like maybe you want to get there someday. And I just want to kind of share my real world experiences with starting up the business on Amazon. Also, if you have any questions for me, I always try to do my best to respond to those comments or questions as soon as possible, and hopefully we can all just kind of learn together. So as always, I'm Chad from Chad DIY, and we'll see you on the next one.